Hey guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Coffee with Courtney Podcast. I'm so glad you're here to continue our discussion on intentional community. Last week we were all challenged to think about the 3 people that we either have or want to have more intentional community with, and to do something, one thing each week over 3 weeks to deepen those relationships and to pour in to those people. And I hope that we're doing that. I hope that it's becoming a rich experience for you. I know that it is for me. I'm so enjoying thinking more intentionally about those key relationships and finding ways to care deliberately, to be cared for deliberately, because these conversations are so valuable and important, and these people matter so much, and it's such a privilege to get to walk along and do life with them. So today I want us to talk about the different needs that we have with community, because it doesn't look the same for all of us, right? Like, we do not need the same things from communities. We don't need the same amount of people in our lives. We don't need the same kinds of relationships with those people. We all have different relationship skills, and we all have different relationship needs. And I want this to be a space where we just own that, and we don't try to pretend it away, or we don't feel guilty about it, or we're not frustrated by it, but we just acknowledge who the Lord has made us to be and how we interact with other people naturally, and then make conscious decisions about what we need that to look like in the future. So we're going to speak stereotypically a little bit today, which is always super dangerous because I know that none of us fall into stereotypes, but indulge me anyway, okay? So we know that extroverts need more people, right? They thrive in big rooms so often. They can enjoy a lot of different things going on, lots of different people at once. That tends to be much less intimidating for an extrovert than for an introvert. They need more people. I know that I am raising one of those. She loves her people, and we all love people. I'm not trying to say extroverts love people more than introverts, but she thrives on her interaction. She gets energy from her interaction with people. And I think that was the most helpful thing when I learned that definition of extrovert versus introvert, is that an extrovert gets energy from being with people, and an introvert has to give energy in a way in order to be with people. So an introvert is going to recharge on their own or with a very few number of people, and an extrovert is going to recharge by being with a lot of people. So knowing that difference between extroverts and introverts, what things are extroverts more naturally good at? Extroverts tend to be better at creating opportunities for community. They tend to be better at getting a lot of people in a room to do something fun and crazy. They're good at initiating, very often, the get-together, the outing, the reason why people come together. They are not always as good at creating intentional relationships inside that space. Oftentimes, they have so much going on, so many different places they want to be and people that they want to see, that they leave very little room to go deep with the people inside those spaces. So extroverts tend to be very good at bringing us together, but they're not always good at turning that accidental community into an intentional one where they really go deep with the people inside it. Introverts don't get their energy from large groups of people as much as extroverts do. They tend to need fewer people. They particularly tend to feel the need to go deep with a couple people. So it's not like introverts sit around thinking, I never want to talk to another person again. but they want to have an opportunity to have that relationship time because it costs them energy to be used in a way that is really valuable, that's nourishing, that builds something. They want to be very invested in it. So they can be better at intentionality because they have that hunger for it that's driving them. But they can be slow to take the risk of engaging in those larger groups where those opportunities for connection come because there is less payoff initially for them in that big group of people. I fall in this introvert category. I recharge with my paper and my pen and looking out my window at my desk. I thrive on deep conversation with a handful of people. And there are times when I walk into a large group space where I have to take a deep breath because no matter how much I love the people in that room, I'm gonna be tired when I'm done because that's just the way that I'm made. And that's okay. I think we look at extrovert and introvert and we place values, like one is better than the other. And the reality is God created both of us, both versions of people. And the question is, how do we capitalize on our strengths, the things that we're best at, and use those strengths and work together to create the kind of relationship and community that we need? This really is a place where we can help each other, where extroverts and introverts can work together to create beautiful community. The extroverts can help us get everybody in the room and get us excited about being together, and the introverts can help us go deep in those more individual conversations, in those times that we follow up with each other outside of that large group time, and really invest in the opportunity that we have. Additionally, I remember a conversation, I guess it was probably 10, 12 years ago, with a pastor's wife at a church, and I was experiencing a lot of loneliness, and I was talking to her about that, and she said to me, "Oh, you're a responder." And I was very taken aback when she initially said that, and I said, "What do you mean? Like, I do the things. I show up at the places. I try to have the conversations with people. I try to reach out. I try to initiate." I was very defensive. And she's like, "Courtney, I'm not trying to say there's anything wrong. I'm just saying in your heart of hearts, what you want is that you want people to reach out to you, and that you have a hard time reaching out to other people first. You would prefer to respond." And as I sat with that, my defensiveness melted away. I realized how true that was, and that there were probably a lot of other people like me that were also responders. It wasn't that anybody was wanting to leave someone out, wanting to leave me out, but that many of us were waiting to be asked. And that wasn't a problem. It wasn't a value judgment about whether or not somebody thought that I was worth it to be friends with. It was just a part of how people were made. And I do feel like our society these days, and maybe this isn't true, but it feels true. You can send me comments about whether or not you think it's true. I think more and more of us are responders. I feel like we've lost a lot of the social skills of how to initiate, how to reach into one another's world, how to come up with the idea of getting together. We can be easily intimidated by that. So we want to be asked, but we don't always know how to do the asking. So what do we do with that? Extroverts, introverts, responders, initiators, how do we capitalize on the strengths of what we do and work together to enrich one another and create intentional community? I have a few thoughts. One is that if there are more responders than initiators right now, initiators, guys, I don't know where you are. I know a few of you, but we really need you. So many of us are waiting to respond And I think you have a more welcome audience than you realize. And then for those of us that are responders, it's not a problem that we want to be the one that says yes to the ask more than we want to make the ask. But there is a moment where we have to not be passive about our own relationship development, and we have to be willing to take the risk, even if it's not our natural bent, and to make some of the asks ourselves. A lot of people are waiting to say yes, and so more of us have to be willing to say, hey, do you want to grab coffee? Hey, can we have lunch sometime? It's important that we learn to risk. I remember one of the first things that attracted me to my husband was just the fact that he would ask me out. I had heard that I was sometimes intimidating. And he asked the question, he took the risk, and because of that, we were able to form a relationship. And so often, just like the Lord says, I think we don't have because we don't ask. And so let's find ways to use the gifts that the Lord has given us. If we're extroverts, let's get more people together. Let's find ways to reach out more. If we're introverts, let's be specific about the people that we do have and focus on going deep with those people. And then let's more of us, myself included, take the risk and make the ask so that we can really build something together.